Hello, beautiful and powerful women. Welcome to Susan Unleashed. This podcast is for any woman who wants to live a gorgeous life on her terms and who knows that not only is being a woman enough, it is the key to everything. I'm your host, Susan Elizabeth, certified professional coach, #1 best-selling author, and Energy Leadership Index master practitioner. I fiercely support women who are passionate about elevating their lives while embracing their truest selves. Are you ready to unleash your power? Hello, gorgeous. Welcome to this week's episode. This is the secret to being willing to fail. Love this. Kind of ties into last week's episode about letting go and detaching from the outcome and letting go of control, but this one's different. So there's a quote and it goes like this. It is impossible to live without failing at something unless you live so cautiously that you might as well not have lived at all, in which case you fail by default. Love that. Let me read it again. It is impossible to live without failing at something unless you live so cautiously that you might as well not have lived at all, in which case you fail by default. Whew, think about that. So many women are so many people are just terrified of failure. And I'm here to tell you that success and failure are one and the same. They're two sides of the same coin. In other words, if you have failure, you're going to know success. You can also have success without having failures or a big failure. You can also have success with tiny little failures along the way. But truly, you're going to have failure in your life many, many, many times. I look at my own life. I used to say, now here's the thing, I've shifted this. I used to say I had failed relationships. I had failed projects. I had failed people. I failed them, or I failed at something. And I now have transformed and shifted my thoughts and my behaviors, my thinking to tell you I don't fail. I don't view failure as failure. I view failure, of what people call failure, as just a part of life. And the reason why I do that is because I've recognized that these are just parts of life. They're stepping stones on our way to greatness. They're stepping stones on our way to our learnings. They're stepping stones on our way to getting somewhere where we want to go. This is just the way it is. And so I remember thinking failure was terrible, but yet I would experience failure. I mean, I had many failed relationships, and I now look at those. They were not failures. They were where I was at the time, and where I needed to take one foot in front of the other and step into whatever that situation and relationship was, and then step out of it, step into another one, step out of that and move on, whether it was a marriage, short-term relationship, whether it was one date, whether it was a long-term relationship. They were just stepping stones to get me to where I'm at today. And I can tell you, with every single one of those stepping stones, I learned something. I learned something about myself. I learned something about other people. I learned something about life. I learned how to navigate things. I built my muscle of growth. And I remember thinking that if I were to experience failure, like I couldn't fail, I had to control everything, I couldn't failure. But I can tell you, success is just one failure away from experiencing something that's magnificent. And like I said earlier, they're really two sides of the same coin. And you really never get to learn what you're truly capable of if you don't experience a failure of some kind. And again, let's reframe this. Let's do a reframe on the word failure. I used to think failure was this huge, big, bad no-no. You don't fail. You don't fail. And now I look at the word failure. I'm like, it's just a part of the process. It's just a part and a path on the way to success at something. It's just a part and a process on the way to gaining information or evidence about something in my life. And it's there to give me feedback. And when you do this, You learn so much. You learn so much more when you put yourself out there and when you experience the little breakthroughs, the little breakdowns, the little failures, the little successes, the big failures, the big successes. You're going to learn. So let's reframe this. Let's do it, ladies. Reframe right now the word failure. You're just one failure away from huge success. You're one failure away from a different life. Failure is not bad. Like, you go forward, you're doing something, a relationship, a project, a career, a job. Fail often. I love the quote by Thomas Edison that says something like this: the light bulb and failure. I don't know anything about failure, but I can tell you 5,000 ways how not to make a light bulb. So it goes something like that. I remember being told that one day, and it really helped me to reframe what I thought about failure in my life. And I want to share this with you too. If you remain in the state of like not sticking your neck out there, if you remain in a state of like mediocrity, averageness, and you don't try new things, you're not going to be risking, and with a risk, there's also a reward. You're not going to be experiencing certain growths, certain spurts of growth. And if you want to succeed, you have to take risks. You have to be willing to fail. And that's the thing now. I am willing to fail. I am willing to fall down. And I don't care how many times I fall down, but the beauty and the magnificence is in how you get up and how you handle the failure. Like, I can handle it with grace and ease. Fall down 6 times, get up 7 times. And it's in the getting up and moving forward that you learn and you grow. How beautiful is that? So when you have these moments of what are called failure, you're going to receive feedback. You're going to receive evidence for what's right for you and what doesn't feel right. And then you're going to make a new decision because you just had a little failure, and you're going to shift past. And no big deal. Whatever it is that you make that in your mind, move on. Like, who cares? So what? And so many people are afraid. It's a thought in your mind. So when you get comfortable practicing doing things of the unknown, putting yourself out there, being willing to fail, being willing to take risks, the life that you're going to experience and lead is going to be remarkable. It's going to be extraordinary. It really, really is. So I also want to share that I think failure and creativity are linked. And when you think of it, we're all creative. Some of us don't think, we're creative. And I'm not talking about artistry. I'm an artist. You're not an artist. But we're all creative. We're creative either in the way we navigate getting around on the roads. We're creative in the way we bake or create or cook something. We're creative in what we put out into the world as ideas. So I want to be really clear about creativity. And when you have failure, there's more creativity that's going to show up in your life because you're putting yourself out there and you are unafraid to fail. You're taking more risks. And you're going to just know this is just part of life. This is what's leading you to success. And another thing that you're going to discover is different ways of doing things. Because you've had these experiences, you have put yourself out there and you're gaining evidence and you're building up your repertoire of the way you're doing things and the way you can handle things, the way you can handle life. And you may even come across certain passions that you didn't even know you had, or maybe you suspect you had. And when you do this, you're also going to move forward in life and you're going to have more clarity because you've put yourself out there, because you were willing to fail. You were willing to show up for life fully and know because you trust yourself and you trust life. And again, I want to bring it back to, let's change the way we use the word failure, right? I think the whole thing is, let's show up for life and let's reframe the word failure. And that's really the secret to being willing to fail. It's like, don't look at failure as a bad thing. Let's look at failure as a really positive thing. It's just part of life. And when you can get over that one big block in your mind about failure and know this is really a part of success, your life will shift. Your life will change. And I want to keep it that simple for this week's episode, because when you think of failure, it's actually a part of success. And when you can reframe in your mind failure, and take my example, take Thomas Edison's example, take my example of like, I never had a failed relationship. I had relationships throughout my life that were stepping stones to get me into the relationship that I am now. And I learned so much from every single one of those. And I'm not ashamed of any one of those. And I wear those. I own those. And I am unafraid to stick my neck out there, no matter what it is, in my career, in my entrepreneurial journey, in situations, or with people. I am unafraid to fail. So that is what I want for you, my friends, all of you. Let's reframe the word failure. And that is the secret to being able to embrace it and to show up for life fully and know that this is just part of life. So that's the secret to being willing to fail. And I want that for all of you. Until next time. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, I would love it if you would leave me a review or share it with someone else who may enjoy it too. To stay connected with me, please head on over to SusanElizabethCoaching.com and make sure that you sign up for my tips on how to live an unleashed life full of passion and purpose. Until next time, go live an unleashed life.